The word hacker, by definition, usually refers to people who use computers and technical skills to gain unauthorized access to systems or networks to commit crimes. So a lot of times, when we think of hackers, we automatically picture criminals in black hoodies working in the dark to steal money or someone's personal information. And, without a doubt, if they're not caught, they can easily earn millions of dollars illegally. So how and where did it all begin? The history of hacking all began in the 1960s at MIT, and that's where the term hacker originated. It referred to an extremely skilled individual who practiced hardcore programming in Fortran. That was a general-purpose programming language. Back then, no one really minded hackers. Their reputation wasn't very widely accepted. In fact, a lot of people had no idea what hacking even was in the 1960s. The term was just a positive label given to gurus who knew their way around computers. However, it wasn't just limited to computers. One of their earliest illegal activities was experimenting with long-distance calling. These hackers were called phone phreaks. To make a story short, phreakers would play certain frequencies into their phones, allowing them to bypass the phone system. This would allow them to make long-distance calls completely free of charge. One of the tools used to create the right frequency was actually a Captain Crunch whistle toy. Later, hackers would create what's called blue boxes, which were devices similar to the Captain Crunch whistle. They mimicked the perfect frequency that allowed hackers to bypass the telephone system so they can make free long-distance phone calls. Before starting Apple, partners Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak started out by marketing blue boxes. It was during the early 1980s, with the rise of personal computers, that cybercrimes became much more common. It was from the comfort of their living rooms that self-taught programmers learned how to manipulate important systems, pirate softwares, and spread viruses. A hacker group called the 414s was one of the earliest to get raided by the FBI and get charged with 60 computer intrusions. They were later identified as 6 teenagers who ranged in age from 16 to 22 at the time. They broke into dozens of high-profile computer systems, including the Los Alamos National Laboratory, Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, and the Security Pacific National Bank. As time progressed, malicious hackers found ways to exploit holes in the operating systems of many networks. Hackers have stolen millions of credit card numbers, broken into millions of accounts, and exposed top-secret information just as examples. The list of cybercrimes goes on, and that eventually became the birth of the hacker stereotype. As data breaches have become increasingly common, hackers have affected the world by invading every aspect of our lives. But it's also important to note that not every hack goes into crime. For example, a hacker can be essential for companies that need their help in protecting their systems from malicious hackers. In other words, hacking crosses the criminal line only when the hacker accesses another person's computer system without consent or authority. An example of this would be if a hacker penetrates a business's firewall to access private servers and cloud storage systems. Hacking, of course, is a crime that is punishable by law. However, every country has their own laws and punishments when it comes to hacking. As for the US, penalties can range anywhere from 1 year to 20 years in prison, with fines of up to $15,000. While our perception of hackers may still be negative, it's important to remember that hacking did originate based on pure curiosity of how computer systems work. For many new and old hackers, that certainly is still the case. Hackers still find and solve vulnerabilities in computer systems. Did you know that hackers are now classified into different types? Today, there's a whole hacker spectrum that includes the colors black, white, gray, green, blue, and red. Just as we imagine malicious hackers in black hoodies, the black hat hackers are those who illegally infiltrate computer systems or networks for their own personal gain. One of the most famous black hat hackers was Julian Assange, or as he went by, Mendax. He infiltrated systems as big as Stanford and NASA. In 1994, he was charged with 31 counts of hacking and related crimes. Eventually, he was ordered to pay a few $1,000s in reparations and was released on a good behavior bond. In 2006, he founded WikiLeaks, which is an online database that allows people to post leaked information anonymously. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, a white hat hacker is a security specialist who's hired to find the vulnerabilities in software, hardware, and networks that black hat hackers may find and target. They're also known as the good hacker or the ethical hacker. We also have the gray hat hackers, who are like a fusion of the black and white hat. They are hackers who illegally breach networks, but without any malicious intent or motive. Gray hat hackers may use illegal methods to find flaws in systems, and they may even release the vulnerabilities to the public. To add to the list, green hat hackers are amateur hackers, or wannabes, who are eager to learn the tricks of the trade. Then, There's also the blue hat amateur hackers, who don't really have a desire to learn. Instead, vengeance or revenge is their only motivation. Lastly, there's the red hat hackers, who are vigilantes who use aggressive methods to take down and stop the malicious black hat hackers. Instead of reporting their targeted black hat hacker, red hat hackers will try to take down their systems or disclose their real identity to the public. The colored hat descriptions were born because hackers wanted to differentiate themselves to separate the good from the bad. So why exactly are these hackers labeled by their figurative hats? The roots of the black and white hat labels are actually drawn from Western movies, where protagonists wore white hats and antagonists wore black hats. One of the most famous hacker groups is called Anonymous. These people are what many of us think of when we hear the word hacker. Many of them prefer to keep their identity a secret, and they can be seen wearing Guy Fawkes masks. They've been involved in many worldwide cases, and they believe in personal freedom because they oppose large centralized power. In 2012, the group faded away after many members were getting arrested. However, recently they've started to regain popularity during the protests against police in 2020. Anonymous made a statement to the Minneapolis Police Department, warning the police about their conduct.
Citizens of the United States, this is a message from Anonymous to the Minneapolis Police Department.
They went on to leak hundreds of gigabytes of information about police agencies in the US. This leak was called the Blue Leak, and it exposed exactly how police handled many different sensitive situations and their views on them from 1996 to 2020. Hackers can make a lot of money identifying security flaws for companies. In fact, the payout for finding even just a single but highly critical vulnerability in a system can be tens of thousands of dollars. When organizations and corporations require outside help, they offer deals to anyone as compensation for reporting bugs and security vulnerabilities. It's called a bug bounty program. A company just describes what type of vulnerabilities they want to be notified of, what parts of their site that can be tested, and what types of testing are allowed. They also coordinate payouts to hackers and work with the companies to ensure that the bugs found are properly fixed. The first of these programs came out in 1983 when a Silicon Valley startup called Hunter and Reddy offered a free Volkswagen Beetle to anyone who could identify a bug in their operating system. In 1995, Netscape also began offering straightforward financial incentives for hackers who found flaws in its popular browser, Netscape Navigator. Other tech giants eventually followed, which gave rise to a new crop of startups, such as BugCrowd, HackerOne, and Synack, who all work to connect ethical hackers with companies offering bug bounties. It's through these platforms that some talented hackers have become rich. Apple offered $1 million to anyone who can hack the iOS kernel of an iPhone without requiring any clicks by the user. Zerodium is a company that looks to buy and resell information on any vulnerabilities of certain software. They offered $2 million for anyone who can pull off a remote jailbreak of an iPhone. There are also other companies, such as Verizon Digital Media, who just paid out $7 million in bounties, or Uber, who paid out over $2 million. So who are these people the companies are paying? We mentioned HackerOne bug bounty just a little bit ago. 6 different hackers on this bug bounty platform have each made more than $1 million. The first hacker to make $1 million on HackerOne was 19-year-old Santiago Lopez from Argentina. He found over 1,600 bugs to companies such as Twitter and Verizon, and his work has helped to protect millions of people. Santiago was actually inspired by watching the movie Hackers as a kid. It was in 2015 when he signed up with the HackerOne platform and realized that he can make a lot of money and completely change his life from his passion and skills. Santiago is a completely self-taught hacker, and he only learned through the internet with online tutorials and by reading books. In Britain, the first ever hacker to also become a millionaire in the security systems of global firms was 47-year-old Mark Litchfield, who now lives in Las Vegas. He's considered by HackerOne as an industry veteran. He was the first hacker to earn over $500,000 in bug bounties on HackerOne. In his first 3 years on HackerOne, Litchfield helped companies such as Dropbox, Uber, and Shopify resolve over 450 vulnerabilities. In the past, he used to sell computers in his shop in Scotland, but he soon realized there wasn't a lot of money selling computers. Along with his brother David, he started 2 information security companies that focused heavily on uncovering as many security vulnerabilities as possible. Another hacker who's made a lot of money hacking is Tommy DeVos. He actually started his hacking career on the wrong side. He was convicted in 2000 for stealing AOL accounts to use them for breaking into military computers. However, the first time he got caught was back when he was just in high school. He was actually expelled and spent a few weeks in juvenile detention. It wasn't until after his second time in prison when DeVos turned his life around by working in an IT job. When he learned about HackerOne, he He was excited about the idea of being able to hack again. Up until August of 2020, he was ranked 20th on the all-time HackerOne leaderboard. But this time, he wasn't going to be in trouble for his hacking. Today, he's earned more than $1 million completely legally. Although there are still plenty of malicious hackers out there, there's definitely a rise of ethical hackers working to protect all of us. HackerOne now has over 500,000 hackers in their network all over the world. Half of them are 24 years old or younger, and some of them are even as young as 15 or 16. We can now expect a rise in ethical hackers because the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency issued a draft of a mandatory directive that requires all government agencies to adopt a vulnerability disclosure policy. This means that ethical hackers are to receive clear guidelines for submitting potentially unknown and harmful security vulnerabilities to organizations. For bug bounty programs such as HackerOne and BugCrowd, this means the need to ensure that the talent pool must be able to follow the growing demand of hacking and searching for system vulnerabilities. They are actually both offering their own free educational initiatives to teach newbies the basics of hacking. Today, it's easier than ever to make money legally by being a hacker.